the key thing is just understanding the older that we get, that muscle is king. So regardless of how that looks on your body, and instead of just overall weight, looking at visceral fat or subcutaneous fat, I think is really important as well, because those are very big, those are very indicative of what your health is going to be like in the future.
Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast. I'm your host, Maria Angelova, and I'm here to challenge everything you have been told about aging and wellness. This podcast is for those who refuse to accept that growing old means growing unhealthy. Each week, I will bring you dynamic conversations with inspirational guests, sharing practical advice, insights, and motivation to live your life rebelliously as you age with grace and vitality. This is your time to embrace self-care, transformation, and an infectious spirit that says no to the conventional and yes to a vibrant, powerful life. Let's dive in and redefine what it means to live well. Hi, Rebels, and welcome to the Mind Body Podcast with me, your host, Maria, where today we get to speak to women's advocate and former Biggest Loser trainer, Erica Lugo. Hello, Erica, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, it's like a synchronicity that we met and we're able to do this, right?
Absolutely, because Erica, some of the things that I heard you where we met at the conference talk about, I'm like, yes. Tell them, woman, because oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about. This can be like a 3-hour episode easily.
It probably could, yeah.
But before we do that, let's get people to get to know Erica. Like, give us 3 words that tell you who you are and a little bit of a backstory behind each word.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur by heart, obviously. I've had probably 4 or 5 businesses in my lifetime. I'm on my 6th one right now, which I think is going to be like my retirement for sure. I'm going to stick this one out for a long time. I'm super ambitious. I'm like one of those low key ambitious people. People don't really expect me to be very ambitious because I move in silence. I'm not really loud about my ambition. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, look what I just did. And people are like, where did that even come from? And then thirdly, the biggest thing is I'm just I'm a family person, like through and through. Like family means everything to me. I've got 3 teenagers, 4 dogs, and a husband, and it's summer vacation right now. So I love having everyone home more and spending time together. But those would be the biggest 3 words to describe me, just from what I think, at least.
Yeah. And Erica, you talk about some things that are so important. You work with primarily women, and I would say they apply to men and women. But some of the most important things that I'm like, I just think we have to drop that, I would call it old mentality of fitness, because I talk about redefining fitness. And girl, you were on The Biggest Loser, and I've seen some of those videos.
Yeah.
And tell me, how has your mindset around fitness changed through the years, through your personal experience, through working with, hundreds and thousands of people? What has changed, and what do you preach today differently?
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot of lessons throughout my whole educational wellness fitness journey. Quick backstory. I started off at 322 pounds and I lost weight, back when my son was 3. So he was born in 2010. So around 2013, 2014 is when I started really trying to lose weight. And that was at the time when Instagram was starting to become a new platform. So there was really no, mass array of information like we have nowadays when it comes to fitness and diets. It was very, back then, and I say back then, it's only 15 years ago, but back then fitness and wellness and weight loss was solely based off being a man. It was solely based off what a man's body needs. And that's what we taught women. And that's kind of what we shoved down women's throats, was like, eat less, move more, eat less, move more, wake up early before your kids go to school and work out, and then stay up late and do the career and do all of the things. And, I lost all that weight. I was in my mid to late 20s at the time. So for me, it came off a little bit easier because I had, age on my side. And then I got to be, I lost 160 pounds and I got to have my dream job of being the Biggest Loser trainer, which I will never, ever ill will talk that show. It's probably one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life. And it's taught me a lot. Now, I will tell people what they don't realize on the show is we have some of the healthiest obese people in the world. So the amount of testing that those people go through, they go through testing for like 4 or 5 weeks before they even get approved for the show to make sure all their health markers are amazing. So that means that we can be a little bit more extreme with them. Now, that's not discussed on the actual platform in the TV show, right? Like I wish the TV show would have been like, all of these people have gone through so many testings. Their body can handle the stress. Their body can handle a caloric deficit. But long story short, from Biggest Loser, do I look back and go, oh, it shouldn't have happened that way? Not really, because it's an extreme TV show. Like, we know what we're signing up for. And I tell people that is if you're living in a Biggest Loser bubble. That is if your only job is to lose weight for 6 weeks for $100,000. You know what I mean? Like, that is not real life.
Yeah.
And even when I was on the Biggest Loser, if you followed my platform at the time, I really preached everyday things that you should do, not like Biggest Loser, like, lots of walking, lots of stress management, lots of sleep. And I
Mhm.
kind of talked about the foundations of what my business is now, like women through perimenopause. I talked about those foundations, and back then I was seen as not cool and boring because I was very like, no, foundations are basics for a reason because they work. I think we've come a long way with how women's health and women's fitness has evolved. We now know you can't treat a woman's body like a man's body. You can't beat them up, 7 days a week doing HIIT training. You can't expect us to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. before the kids get up and work out and expect us to be healthy. So, the way I treat clients is maybe similar in the fact of like, if you want a big change, you're going to have to really stick to it, but maybe those changes are small changes, not like extreme, like Biggest Loser. So I've learned a lot, but now a lot of my practice is, hormonal health and looking at the big picture versus just very broad information like me saying, hey, Maria, you're X years old. So yeah, why don't you go walk and drink some water and up your fats? No, now I'm looking at lab work. I'm looking at data and I'm creating programs based off that.
And you brought up so many excellent points. I mean, the point of exhaustion and
Mhm.
expected to function and do all of these things and manage your nervous system and
Yeah.
look great, that is just like we are setting up women for truthfully failure, and then
Yeah.
we reinforce that mindset of you can't do it all.
Mhm.
Well, that is, yes, you, if you're a normal human being, you can do it all, and
Mhm.
all of that, doing the HIIT training all the time. And I am not opposed to HIIT training. There is a space for HIIT training when you
Mhm.
have slept well, eaten well, hydrated
Correct.
well, when you're managing your nervous system.
Right.
But if you have gone to bed at 2 a.m. and gotten at 5 a.m. to work out, HIIT training is going to do you so much more damage than
Mhm.
help you. And
Yeah.
you're also working with women who are in perimenopause. And that
Yes.
is a time of change. That is a
Mhm.
time when hormones start changing. That is a time when metabolism changing and things
Yep.
like you brought it up. It's one thing to lose weight when you're 28. It's a different
Yep.
thing to lose weight when you're 48, 58, 68,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Because things change. And I also love that you brought up the basics, Erica, because
Mhm.
that foundational stuff of sleep, hydration, nutrition, stress management goes such a long way into how you feel. Because
Yeah.
it's not just about how you look. And actually, I'm going to like divert direction into let's talk about body image, because
Mhm.
that's something else that you'd address that at conference. And I think that's something else that once again through social media we tell women you should look a certain way and you should look like the person next to you.
Mhm.
What do you say about that?
I have such a broad view of body image because I've gone through a, 322-pound body. I've lived in a, 185-pound body. I've lived in a 150 body when I competed, 140 maybe. And now I'm sitting like comfortably. And yes, I have weight to lose for sure. Like, I'm not where I want to be after my perimenopause journey started. But, like 195 right now, I'm 5'11. I'm pretty big boned and I have lots of muscle. So, I've lived in all different types of bodies, but for me, the key thing is just understanding the older that we get, that muscle is king. So regardless of how that looks on your body, and instead of just overall weight, looking at visceral fat or subcutaneous fat, I think is really important as well, because those are very big, those are very indicative of what your health is going to be like in the future. Also other data, like I know so many people who are very thin, but have terrible fasting glucose and terrible glucose spikes after they eat. Versus myself, I may have 15, 20 pounds to lose, but guess what? My fasting glucose is at 87 and I spike up to maybe 100 at 2 hours after eating a large carb meal. So that's pretty indicative of like what my overall hormonal health is doing. And it's pretty funny that you asked this question because I was just talking about this with my daughter. Love Island is on right now. And if you don't know what that is, it's a very popular dating show. It comes
Okay.
out every single day. And all these people on this island, they're like in their early to mid 20s, and they're basically prancing around naked on this island in bikinis and thongs and things like that. And my stepdaughter's watching that, and that's what they think that bodies need to look like, all while these girls are in their mid to late 20s and they're drinking heavily, they're under a lot of stress, they're not sleeping, they're partying all night. But for them at that point, it's probably going to work until it no longer works anymore, right? So I wish we had more diversity in what health looks like for people, because we just expect like you should go through these transitions because that's what the narrative is. Like in your 20s, you should be able to party all night, drink all night, and have the best body. But that's what's setting us up for being sick later on down the road. You know, I wish more women in their 20s were okay with having a little bit more fat on their bodies because it protects your organs. It's what protects your metabolism. And, you know, not drinking alcohol all the time just because your body can handle it at that point. It's like a slow downhill spiral. So, you know, all that for me to say, like, health comes in so many different shapes and sizes. And I think the biggest markers you need to look at, obviously, is like I said, visceral and subcutaneous fat. Insulin, I think, is a really big one. VO2 max, I think, is another big one. So I look at those metrics versus just what my body weight is now.
And I can absolutely relate to what you're talking about because I was always very active. I started going to the gym when I was 12 and I was a gym rat. And I will tell you, when I was in my 20s, I would actually order an extra large pizza and eat that all by myself. And I
Yes.
had a six pack and I had 16% body fat.
Yeah.
And it was a very different thing to, obtain that then versus now.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly to the point you make. Some of those habits that I have, oh, you can just eat whatever and look
Yep.
great. Well, guess what? When I turned 30, I was like, uh-oh,
Can't do
what
that
is
anymore.
happening? Yeah, because the same food choices, I
Yep.
had to drastically change my food choices in my,
Yep.
and it's almost like every decade that's changing. And I talked about that to my teenage daughter because I'm like, you don't understand. Like right now, you can get away with stuff, but that stuff is going to become like the lack of sleep, the choices of food is going to become habits that you take into adulthood.
Yep.
And the other thing about size is, you should look like that. I will tell you, I was ripped in my 20s. And when it became time for me to get pregnant, actually, I was training for a marathon because I was super stressed. I had anxiety attacks. And what was my go to training?
Hit
HIIT
training.
training.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I knew.
Yep.
And I didn't realize back then what I was doing to my body. And if you look from the side, yes, I was ripped. I mean, I was like a dream body.
Yeah.
And now when I look back, I'm like, to do that to my body? Heck no, I'm not doing that to myself.
Yeah.
And my priority right now is to be healthy, to be mobile, to feel good. Could I lose a few pounds?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like we have become so obsessed about the external look versus the internal feeling. And I think especially for women, there are so many women who feel like crap
Mm-hmm.
chasing those goals that they see on social media at the expense truly of their health, because this is bigger than the look. This impacts your well-being, your long-term health.
Yeah, I see it, because what I do for a living, I mean, I own a functional health coaching company. So, there's so many other functional health coaching companies out there now. Like it's kind of blown up. It's a very popular, buzzy
Yeah.
thing. And I still find that a lot of the testimonials are based off how you look. And they're
Mhm.
like, look at this person changing. Now, yes, like I understand it's an easy attention grab. Like people always want the
Mhm.
after photo, but what I'm always interested in is like, how are they sleeping? How is their
Mhm.
like libido, not only like sexual libido, but like libido to me is like zest for life. Like, are they excited about life? Do they look forward to things? What are their sleep habits? What are their digestion habits like? I want to know all that stuff as transformations versus just strictly the body. So even though we're talking more and more about hormonal health, we're still heavily relying just off of the body image and the before and afters as like a success story. And if you saw me 2.5 years ago, I was about 20, 25 pounds lighter than I am now because I was just coming off, competing, and I was just coming off all of those things. And that was the start of my perimenopause journey. And I was a train wreck physically and emotionally. I had cystic acne everywhere. I was sweating the bed every night. My periods were a mess. I was puffy, my body hurt, I was mentally unstable to the point I almost checked myself into a mental clinic. But if you physically looked at me at that point, I looked tight, I looked fit, I looked muscular. And if you look at me now, I definitely have some weight to lose, but my periods are regular, my fasting glucose is good, I no longer have cystic acne on my face. I'm sleeping through the night, I don't have anxiety attacks. I live in Ohio, so like I'm always having a low mood because the weather's terrible, but like overall, like it's not like the depression that I had before. So I think it's so interesting that people will be like, well, you've got a little bit of weight to lose. And I'm like, yeah, but look how much healthier I am overall versus what I did to get that aesthetic before, especially when you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. You have to go harder and go to a more extreme to constantly get that versus it'll take years of consistency, which I find is okay to get to your goal. I've learned my lesson the hard way that I much rather do a slow and low grow when it comes to getting to my goals versus going hard and fast paced like I did to get that aesthetic before.
Hey Rebels, I want to take a quick moment to share something super exciting with you. If you've been feeling stuck, disconnected, or just know there is more to life than what you're experiencing, I have something special for you. I have created a powerful 6-step video series called Unleash Your Potential, an introduction to the Angelova method. As a valued Mind Body podcast listener, the series is my gift to you. In this series, I will guide you through the core elements of the Angelova method, a unique approach that integrates movement, mindset, and mastery to help you align your body, mind, and life. You will learn practical techniques to improve your alignment, boost your core strength, and connect deeply to your inner self. Whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, gain mental clarity, or simply live more fully, these videos are designed to get you started on the path to your most vibrant self. And the best part? It's completely free. So if you're ready to break through barriers and unleash your full potential, head over to mindbodyexpert.com and get started today. Let's take this journey together because you, my rebel, deserve nothing less than the extraordinary. And that's great because what you're talking about, Erica, is truly lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing one habit, I'm going to do this for 30 days, preparing for the competition, whatever, the first of the year, January 1st goals, resolutions, or are you looking at movement? That's why I talk about redefining fitness because it goes such a longer way than just how you look. It's like you said, what's your blood sugar? How is it helping you manage your mental state? How are you feeling? If you feel like crap, that's your indicator that something that you're doing is off.
Yeah.
And we lose perspective on that because it's like, well, I lost the weight. How do you feel? I'm exhausted. I don't have energy.
I hear it all the time. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so what is your body telling you? And we have become so disconnected and so unintentional about our self-care. I was talking to somebody who, you probably appreciate this, meditates regularly, exercises regularly. And we were talking about self-awareness and intention. And she goes, well, I've never really thought about being intentional with my day or how I move. And I was like, even our self-care has become a check mark.
Yeah. It's become, I laugh when I onboard new clients, I say, one thing that we're going to do is create a lifestyle program for you. And they're like, well, what is lifestyle program mean? And I said, the new stress has been about stressing less. Everyone is like, okay, am I doing red light? Am I doing meditation? Am I doing journaling? Am I doing sauna? Am I doing cold plunge? Well, I have a cold plunge machine at home. I have a sauna machine at home. And I will tell you, I sprinkle it in a few times a week because it takes a lot of time out of my day and it stresses me out more to make sure I fit all of those things in versus if I just go on with my day with like intentions of being, mindful and grateful. And you'll appreciate this. I actually laugh. This is something I started, but I forget the study. I'll find it somewhere. It'll come to me. I forget his name, but I'm sure you've heard of it, where the scientist talked to water in a very positive way and said like positive affirmations. And then he talked to water in the same environments as it was freezing in a very negative way and said really bad words and just kind of had a really heavy negative tone to his voice. And the one that he talked to, with great words and positive voice turned into these beautiful crystals and snowflake patterns as it froze. And then the water that he talked to in a negative, hard tone of voice was distorted and like not colored and like had no patterns. So like it's obviously proof that words and the way you talk
Mhm.
have really have meaning behind them. So I actually now in the morning, I can't believe I'm admitting this. I actually talk to my water every morning. I have a big glass jug and I'm going to use that glass jug to fill up my water bottle every day. And every morning I talk to my water in a very positive and empowering way with great intentions behind it because I put that in my body, right? So it doesn't even have to be like all of these massive things, but just being grateful and mindful. And I work at home. So, I have the luxury of like, I can like come and go as I please, I guess. But like there are still days where I have 10 or 12-hour days, but I make sure that I step away from my laptop and I go outside, take my shoes off and ground with the earth for 5 minutes. Or if it's sunny, then I'm going to go outside and get some sunlight on my face. Or I make sure I look at the sunrise for a few minutes and the sunset for a few minutes. Like it doesn't have to be all these really big, stressful things. I tell people all the time, no matter what you believe in, we were built as humans to live on this earth with the resources that we have for a reason, and we don't use them. Get back to the basics of it.
Love it. I mean, as a side joke, I would tell you I have heard about this research study in
Yeah.
regards to plants versus water. So
Okay.
I have two plants in front of my
Yes.
studio, and one of them didn't survive the winter as well as the other. So I actually talked to my plant. So
Yes.
I just thought that was funny that you brought that up.
It's so true. And like it's so silly, but like I'll talk to my water and be like, you are going to repair and thrive on my cells and keep me healthy and creative and energetic and just kind of set you off for a good tone. I've never been the person to like journal and set intentions like that. As much as I try, it just doesn't work for me because it's not
But
something
you
that I
have to
know.
find what works for you. You know,
Correct.
this
Right.
is the
So
other thing. Like it's
talking to my
everybody's
water.
like, you have to journal. And people are like, I don't like to journal. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing you can do that you enjoy, that you look forward to doing? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be mine. I'm just like you. I promote like get out in the sunshine. Go
Mhm.
out and just take a couple of breaths of fresh air.
Yeah.
Go hug a tree, right? Those little
Mhm.
things, they go a long way. And I'll tell you, I listened to another presentation at the conference where we met where the physician, he actually spoke about, we have all the hormone replacements, we have all these devices and gadgets and all that, but what we're losing track of and connection to is those basic pillars
Yeah.
of health, that they
Yep.
don't go away regardless of all of the advancements that we have, because that's
Mhm.
what sustains and nurtures our body as we age so that we
Yeah.
can age well.
Yeah, like I tell everyone, I'll say it again, like we were all born with these bodies and resources around us for a reason, and we just don't tap into it. And we just get so overwhelmed. I know, like I work in this space and I'm super, I feel like I'm very educated on, things and resources and the latest research. And even me, it gets overwhelming. And I'm like, I'm educated on this stuff. So I can't imagine someone who doesn't work in this space, like an everyday woman who has a job outside of the health and wellness world, who it's probably so confusing, right? Of like what to do and how to do it. Like the doctor before me, really great information, like an astounding amount of information. But I felt like every second it was like, eat this for this, eat this for this, eat that for that, eat this for this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, I don't even know what I should
What to
focus on.
eat?
It's like, what do I eat? What do I not eat? This is good, but this is not good. And I mean, such amazing. I mean, he was a great speaker. He's got a book. I mean, obviously he's a New York Times bestseller, but I was like, whoa, like I'm overwhelmed. Like there's so much different things that you're giving. I think he had like over 50 different foods to eat on a normal basis. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do that.
And
I'm
then
gonna
you feel
do
the
my
right,
best.
eat this, don't eat this. Today it's eat it, tomorrow is don't eat it. And
Yes. Yeah.
that's what I tell people. You have to find what works for you. What kind of diet, for example, works for you? What kind of exercise works for you? What kind of mindfulness practices works for you?
Yeah.
Because if you go out there, I mean, there is so much stuff out there and
Yeah.
it can be overwhelming. And then that kind of, discourages us for even wanting to try.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
it gets overwhelming for sure.
yeah.
So, and back to your point too, I think one of the biggest pieces that we're missing is the nervous system regulation. Like
Mhm.
I'm going through a thing right now where I own my own functional health coaching company. I have very great resources where I can get lab work and I can figure out all this
Mhm.
stuff. I mean, I did a Dutch test, I did a thyroid full panel, I did a gut test, and I did a hormone full panel. So I had just 4 lab work and I just did a full body MRI because I work with Pernuvo. So I have all this great info and all this great data. And I'm like, okay, why am I still symptomatic to a degree? Like, why am I still
Mm.
tired? Why do I still kind of wake up with a little bit of a buzz of anxiety? It goes away, but why do I wake up with that? And it's because my nervous system, right? Like, you got to tend to your nervous system. And some people find it very woo woo or whatever. But again, if that is not regulated, then you're going to constantly be in that fight or flight. So, what
Yeah.
do I do? Now I change the way I work out. So instead of, heavy lifting all the time and supersets, I'm doing low to medium weights, doing 12 reps, taking a break for 20, 30 seconds, doing another 12 reps. I'm not doing
Mhm.
back to back stuff. I'm not running or jogging anymore. I'm taking walks. I'm doing breath work, and I'm, wearing blue light blocker glasses, and I'm, not meditating, but like, what is it? The somatic breathing, or like the
Mhm.
somatic humming. Like, I'm out there going, you know, but like over time, I've
Yeah.
noticed, the buzzing of anxiety I have is not so bad anymore in the morning, or I'm
Mm.
falling asleep a little bit easier, and I don't have migraines like I did a few weeks ago. So, it just goes to show you that you really do have to tend to your nervous system. And we're in a generation where, like, we're still very, to your point, hustle culture. And when I say I'm kind of ambitious, but I work in silence, is because the last thing I want to promote to people is, oh, I'm up working, till 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I have clients all day. And then I'm doing this. And then I'm a PTA mom. And then I'm decorating my house. Like, we just have an overabundance of all these people on social media and all these creators. Don't get me wrong, I'm a creator myself, but all these creators showing very unrealistic things. And we are just constantly comparing ourselves to that. And it's very overwhelming. So I get a lot of people that slide into my messages saying, thank you for being regular. And I always go, I don't know how to take that, but like,
Yeah.
I've, with my platform, most people would expect someone to live this big lavish life and do all these big trips and do all these crazy things. And for me, it's like, no, a simple life is a healthy life, right? And tending to your nervous system and being boring sometimes is okay. And I think people appreciate that, because we don't see that very often anymore.
I so agree with you because I will tell you, we're so conditioned, and I'm sure you see this, we're so conditioned to the stress. I have a client and I'm like, you're stressed, your energy is different. She's like, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Mhm.
Well, she went to the doctor yesterday and they suggested that she takes anti-anxiety medicine. And she was
Mm,
like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I can see the difference in you
yeah.
based on your energy, based on the way you show up. But we have accepted to be stressed
Mhm.
all the time. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I just recorded content for next month and I did exactly a video on that. It's like, how are we helping each other if we're setting up these expectations,
Mhm.
as mom, as creators, as an entrepreneurs? Oh, I didn't sleep and I did. Now we're telling the next person that's what you need to do to make it. And it's
Yeah.
like how is that serving us and how is that serving everybody else around us?
Yeah, and again, back to the we're not mini men. So, no matter what you believe in, like, men were created to go hunt and gather and bring food home for the family and get up super early and run on adrenaline and be that way. Women were not created for that. We were created for community. We were created to raise our kids. We were
Like,
created for a little bit slower pace of life and cook and nourish ourselves. And we're doing completely opposite of that, right? Like, women are now working full time, we're raising kids, we have side hustles, we're attending conferences, we're working out, we're doing all these health and wellness to-do list things, and our bodies were not made for that. Like, men wake up with a resurgence of hormones every single morning. Like, my husband always jokes, man, you could sleep for 10 hours. I'm like, yeah, because I need to sleep for 10 hours. Like, how is it to wake up, every morning with a fresh dose of testosterone, progesterone, estrogen at just the right levels? I said, it takes me 30 days to rebuild after my cycle, right? So, like,
yeah,
it's we are just built very different, and we're
definitely.
still treating women the way that we are treating men. And the research and studies speak for themselves. And we didn't start doing studies on medication and all that stuff on women until probably like 40 years ago. All of it was based off men. We didn't start doing dietary studies on women until 20, 30 years. I mean, it's just insane. Like, everything is built around a man's biology. And it's slowly starting to change, I think, with all the advocacy that we have, but we still have a really long way to go.
I think we still have a really long way to go
Mhm.
because some of the messages that I still see there are like push harder, hustle, don't sleep. And it's just like, yeah, it is not
Yeah.
serving us. And
No.
we have stepped so much into our masculine energy that we have
Yes.
created imbalance right?
Yes.
Between the feminine and the masculine. That can be like a whole other episode that we can
Yeah.
talk about.
I
But
just yeah, I just had that conversation with my husband yesterday because you know what I do for a living. And there, I said I'm so masculine in my job every day. Like when it comes to numbers and boardroom meetings and meeting with my business partners, and even like when a new client, when you do like a quote unquote discovery call, like your goal is to obviously have the person sign up for your program. So I almost feel like it's become masculine in that sense too, where I'm not leaning into like, okay, my feminine energy with this other feminine energy. It's like, okay, masculine, what do you need? How can I help you? Let's fix it. Let's get this done. And it's like, I just had the conversation with him. Like, I need to really lean into my feminine energy more because I think it would serve me better. Like I'm a female, right? So like I have that energy and I just kind of like pushing it aside a lot. So it's very interesting that you say that.
I was very strong into my masculine energy, pushing. And I mean, and that was, I had stress,
Yeah.
I had anxiety, I was go, go, go. I lacked intention, all that stuff. And
Yep.
I felt it. I felt it
Mm-hmm.
in my body. And it's really cool because I've made that transformation. And now even when I hear people like telling me, oh, I didn't sleep, they're like almost bragging, I didn't sleep and I did this.
Yes.
And I'm like, do you need a hug? Like, I'm so sorry that you had to do
But do
that.
you struggle with, because you're a business owner too, and I'm a business owner, but do you struggle with, okay, obviously we know that that works, right? We know that hustling and sleeping when you're dead and sacrificing get you the millions of dollars, right? But I tell people all the time that I chased my wealth with my health, and now I'm chasing my health with the wealth that I made
So,
because I sacrificed so much of
so
my
much.
body and what it was telling me to chase that number, like getting on the magazine cover, getting on Biggest Loser, doing a tour, doing all this. And then what happened after all of it slowed down is my body crashed and burned. And it's taken years to get back to a semi stable point. And I've spent so much money to get the
Get back there.
resources and education and the time, or saying no to jobs because I was too sick to do it, to get my health back. So, people always say, well, it works. Like, yeah, but at what cost? And if it's something that you want to do for a short term, I tell everyone, like, short term, your body can withstand a lot of stress, but
Good.
long term it can't. And we as Americans do not know when to cut that stress off, that we have no limit. There's no short term goal anymore. It's like, you go for this, great, you got it, keep going for the next one. And
Yeah.
as a business owner, I kind of struggle with that because um, you're not seen as successful unless you reach the highest peaks, right? And you keep doing all these cool, amazing things. But I know that my body and my health is more important than that sometimes. So I struggle with that. So do you struggle with that sometimes?
So, it's very interesting that you say that because I become very aware when I fall into that trap of I need to
Mm-hmm.
do more, I need to perform more, because it's easy to go back to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like your default,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Of
Mm-hmm.
like pushing and hustling. And I can do that. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like I'm a professional with that. But I'm become so attuned to where I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like I'm exhausted. Oh, that
Yeah.
doesn't feel good. So I think I am more aware to where I can just be like, time out, time out. Like
Yeah.
let's pause and be like, okay, what are you in a rush for? Like what's not good? And then I kind of ground myself to the present and like, what's wrong with what I am today?
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And I'm moving forward. I'm taking the steps forward. Tone it down. Because
Yeah.
this is what I tell my clients. Like, you will get there. How you get there and the cost that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
pay. What is one piece of advice that you have for our listeners?
Every time I get on a podcast, someone asks me that question. I still never have a really good answer. But for me, I think the biggest thing is your health is very individualized based off your needs, your resources, and what you and your family can sustain. And I tell people you can find an argument to support whatever you want to believe in, whether that be, sunscreen, no sunscreen, beef tallow, no beef tallow, organic, non-organic. Like you can find whatever arguments you want to do to support it. So do your due diligence. And honestly, like you were given an intuition for a reason. And I tell people, women especially, to lean into that when it comes to their health, because you know what you need to do. You're just not listening to what you need to do.
You love that. Listen to your
Mhm.
body, tune into yourself.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Erica, what is your definition of rebellious?
Oh my gosh.
I
Um,
know.
Man, I guess for me, this is more of a personal one for me versus like a broad for
Yeah.
everyone, but to really break the expectations of what people think about me. No one really thinks that I could do what I'm set out to do. And if you would have met me 10, 15 years ago, the last thing that you would expect of me is that I was going to be on a national women's health magazine cover, or I was going to have my own TV show, or that I'm going to write a book. That would be the last thing. And I love proving people wrong. So breaking the stereotypes and breaking the little little box that people put you in. That's what I think. Like step outside the box that people put you in and shock them.
Love it. And Erica, tell people, where can they find you? What
So
can
you
they
can
do you? Where they can connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me all across socials on the same name. It's going to be at Erica Fit Love, and it's Erica with the C, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Love it.
Yeah,
Erica,
thank
you
you.
are a bundle of pleasure and a bundle of knowledge. Thank you so much for bringing this amazing knowledge and wisdom to us.
Yes.
Rebels, I do hope you really tuned in and re-listen to this episode. Send it to somebody who can benefit. And let's start taking care of our body, minds, and spirits, and let's nurture them versus abuse them and exhaust them. With that said, subscribe, like, make sure you connect with Erica, and I will see you next time. Do not forget to stay rebellious. Thank you for joining us on the Mind Body Podcast, where we explore the power of living authentically and rebelliously. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow rebellious soul who would love to hear what we share as much as you do. Stay strong, stay calm, and most importantly, stay rebellious. Until next time, rebellious souls, keep living fully. Your journey is just beginning.